I like to talk about the mind, body, soul of performance. So I'm sort of in sort of adding this extra element of soul, and why I think soul is so important. This is another way we can sort of look at it. So sort of up here is the mind. So that's sort of your thoughts and feelings and your actions, or your body. That's your voice, right? That's all of you who are getting into voiceover. That's your vocal warm-ups, all that kind of stuff, the technique. And then I'm throwing in soul over here is the little heart, the heart and will of your game. And I think this is such an important piece. So we're going to get into the soul talk, and it can get woo-hooey. People are like, oh, the soul, what is that? So it's your heart and will, it's your why. So your why, I've got another slide for that. It's your passion, it's your gut. It's exactly what I knew when I was 11 years old, standing on the stage, being Peter Pan. I knew I wanted, it's what made me want to sign up to play hockey under an assumed name. It's how I feel when I still play hockey. It's like I'm 7 years old out there, and nothing will stop me from going to play hockey. Even at, I had a baby, and 3 weeks later I was out playing hockey because I had to do it. It can be your universe, it can be your religion, it can be your spirituality, it can be your community. There's lots of places where things feed your soul. And for me, like even before doing this today, I got into my soul headspace. Like I got into my mindset, my definite mindset, but I also really attached myself to my soul. I made sure I connected with my soul and got centered with my soul. I went out for a run. I got in with nature. Nature is sort of my soul place, trees. So it is such an important place for me in performance. And it's sort of the centering place. It's that thing that you say, my gut knows. So we're going to go into some of these why things, why do we do this? Why are you a voiceover artist? And throw some things into the chat, kids, if you want to, if you're like, why am I doing this? Like, why do I want to become a voiceover artist? Like, I hope why is speaking to you right now. I hope you're like, I have to do it. I hear people say, performers save me. I want to do the same for someone else. I have tons of clients who just, cartoons save me. I found my voice through cartoons. I was bullied as a kid, and, the kids from 16 were my friends. And now I want to be a voiceover artist so I can do that for someone else. That is your why. Okay. And your why, you will go back to your why time and time again. Your why is going to support, your soul is going to support your inner game and your outer game. It's going to support your mental game versus your physical game. Okay. Trust me on this one. So, and even if it's money, fame, notoriety, I want to do this because I want to be famous. If I were to say this isn't, that never crossed my mind when I entered this business, I would be a big liar. So, and I'm not a liar. I like to be very truthful. I present my authentic self to you today. And so, yes, of course, that is something that appeals to me. But I'll tell you, in all my years of doing this, that is not why I am doing that. I'm definitely not doing that now. Right. And not because I haven't achieved a modicum of success. I'm nowhere near where I thought I would be. I thought I would be in a whole other place, but I also am in this other amazing place, so right. Even though I had these high goals, like I had my Oscar speech prepared years ago, I've yet to receive my Oscar, but that's okay because I stayed true to my why. I'm still doing it 25 years later, loving every second of it. And even if I'm not working right now as a voiceover actor, I'm a professional auditioner right now. When I'm not working as an actor, I'm an auditioner. And that totally, my why keeps me going because I love it. And here I am still doing it. And I'm bringing in my creative self. I'm doing it for me. And the money, the fame, the notoriety, that may or may not come. And if that drives you, then great. Everybody, you all have your own journey as to why you do this. And as long as it's driving you and not taking from you, as long as it's not, oh my God, I'm not there yet. I'm not making the money, or I'm not famous, or what if. That's where I also think, if you have money, fame, notoriety as your why, you're looking for outside sort of accolades. And you have to find it from yourself. You have to do this because you believe in yourself, not because other people are clapping for you. Really, I love getting clapped for, but most of the time, we all know this is a solo gig. We're in our booze by ourselves. So this has to come from ourselves. So let's move on to the body part of it. So your actions, your voice, I'm not going to get into this too much because we've got lots of talks happening with this kind of stuff, but I'm going to touch on it because we are talking about performance and the mind, body, soul of performance. So this is your practice, right? This is what you do on you need to do your practice. You need to take risks. You need to push yourself. You need to engage repetition and this goes for as being a performer, an athletic performer, and a voiceover actor. You need discipline. You want to play to your strengths. Like all this stuff this is your outer game, and you want to really work on this so that this will build your confidence. This will, you'll learn, you'll get, this is your craft, your physical craft. If there's anything here you're confused about, I wanted to just step here, but I don't want to land here because I really want to go into the inner game stuff and sort of the mental game of this. But this, control what you can control in this part of the craft is you have to be good. You don't start great. Remember, when we first start out, we have to be the most gentle with ourselves. We're just learning when we start something, and we need to just, we just have to practice, and practice makes perfectly imperfect. I never say practice makes perfect. This is a gray area craft. So, I have lots of clients that say, I just want to know if I'm doing it right. This is a funny business because it's who knows what's right, who knows. I think we know what's wrong. Sometimes we maybe know what's wrong, right? But we don't always know what's right because we don't know what they want. We don't know what they want. So we really have to figure out that part. We have to really set intentions for ourselves, what we want to do in the booth. We want to we want to get a good sense of the text, all the things that you do, break down your script. We're storytellers. So we want to tell the story to the best of our ability, and bring in our strengths and be ourselves. So all that kind of stuff. But our goal is, I like to say, our goal is not to book the job. I like to set very reasonable goals for myself. The goal is not to book the job because you can't make that goal happen. You can't make booking the job happen. That is completely out of your control. So take that off the table. That's going to be my first little hot tip of the day, is take booking the job off the table, because every time you do that and you don't book, your brain is going to register failure. It's not failure. You didn't book the job. Who knows what they went for? You may not have had a shot right from the get-go. You may have had the world's most perfect audition. Again, no such thing, but let's just say, and you didn't get it. So that is not a failure. What we can control is having an awesome audition. And that's on you, right? What will make your audition amazing? We can't control everything, right? We can't control that the lawn cutter is outside cutting the lawn at the moment you need to go in to record. So we have to figure out how to let certain things go that are out of our control, or your baby's crying or whatever. There are a whole bunch of things that are out of our control. So what we really control, what you can control, let go of what you can't. Okay. And focus on having a great audition. And part of that is going to be your physical practice. It's going to, get yourself soul ready. Playing a song, great music can help you fill your soul. Going for a walk like I did, all the things that'll fill your soul. Have your body ready, have your vocal warm up, get all that stuff sorted out, work on the script, figure out your storytelling, your beginning, middle, and end. And then make sure your mindset is in the right place. And that's what we're going to get into now. So your mind is sort of the mental part of the mental part of this game. This is the inner game. It's really your thoughts and your feelings. a really strong mental game or a strong mindset is one that you have trust in yourself. You're trusting that you've put in the work, trusted that, as for me as a water skier, just think like way back then, I was performing these tricks in front of thousands of people. It's, I don't know if any of you have ever seen water skiing like be performed, but you've probably seen figure skating. And I'd say that's kind of a similar thing in that, like, we know when a figure skater is fallen at the is messed up. We know it's very same with water skiing. You fall in the drink and there's no popping right up. You got to wait for the boat to come back and pick you up.
It's obvious.
It's very obvious. And, we had one boss that didn't really like it when our hair was wet. And let me tell you, you wipe out in the water, your hair is getting wet. So suddenly you've just made mistakes all over the place. So how do you trust yourself? So I've fallen, I'm in the middle of the lake, the boat's coming out, coming to get me back up onto the water. And I'm going to try that trick again and trust myself this time. And hopefully it works out. Hopefully I don't fall a second time, which I have. It happened. And, sometimes you just got to laugh. And that is definitely, I would say, another hot tip when you do make mistakes that are glaringly obvious. It's a lot better for your soul if you just laugh at yourself and figure out how to get yourself centered than to berate yourself or whatever you tend to do. But this mindset is it's such an important part of this. So this is what, I can't impart this to you enough, because I know a lot of you who are just starting out. First of all, we're getting inundated by everything on the, you can find out, and I want to be a voiceover, and suddenly you've got pages of link, right? So you can just get consume how to be a voiceover artist, all that kind of stuff, learning the craft, figuring out how to do it well. That is all very important. But your mindset, if your mindset isn't in the right, that is going to be what ends up getting in your way. And stopping you from getting ahead in this business and going the distance and having a career. Right at the end of the day, what do we want out of our lives? We want to live a happy, fulfilled life. So this is part of it. Getting gigs is going to be part of it. Putting food on our tables, having a successful career is going to be part of it. On my hardest days, I might not feel successful. So I have to remind myself where I am successful, and that sometimes we just have to do that for ourselves. And we really do. We do have to do that for ourselves. So back to our sort of the mental game. So we have trust in ourselves. We're grounded. We're confident. We have a positive mindset, and confidence comes from, doing the work, all the other things, as well as we're going to get into, self-awareness is a big part of our mindset. Recognizing what our superpowers are. We all have strengths and superpowers, and we all have great weaknesses and challenges. And we have to be aware of what those are. We just do. And it's okay. We're not supposed to be amazing at everything. Recognize when you have big feelings about things. I put that there because, we all sort of react. We have triggers. We have different things that can set us off, and just be aware of these things, that what might set you off, especially in the moment, if we can be aware of these things before you go into your next audition or before you go into a job. Let's say you do book something and they want to have you work with the director. So we want to get to know this stuff before we perform. And this will help with our confidence. This is how you build confidence. And self-love is part of that. And you have to love yourself. We can't be waiting for the audience. I can't, if you all think I'm great and you love me, thank you. Love that. I appreciate that. But really, I have to be blown up by my own self-love. It's the only thing that will carry me through. I have to, being accountable for my mistakes, being accountable for making mistakes. We're human. We aren't AI. Hot topic. Yeah. We're not going to go there too soon. But we have to be accountable, and it's okay. We aren't AI. We do make mistakes, and we're supposed to. These are opportunities to learn. And play. I threw an S on there for some reason. Just play. When you're sitting in your power and you're sitting in your mental game power, and knowing that you've worked on your craft and you're in a great mindset, and you've talk to a tree, that will
Yeah.
give you permission to play. Now we're going to get into, what can really hinder our performance, which, I've already alluded to the fact that our mental game is such a big part of this. So this Timothy Galway guy, he has this great equation that when I was sort of first back to school, figuring out how to really be a coach, this equation came up and it just landed for me so beautifully. So performance equals your potential minus your interference. So just think about that for a second, right? So in a perfect world, our potential should equal our performance, right? So whatever your potential is, and again, be very aware. We have to be very self-aware about what our potential is. So our potential, all the hard work we put in, all our mental game, our soul food, all that kind of stuff should equal our peak potential, should always equal our performance. But it rarely does because we have interferences, right? Interferences come in and they can be they can be a range of interferences, lots that are out of our control, like the lawnmower on a day that you record, right? We can't, like whether I'm going to get the job or not, that again, no. Baby kept you up all night. I wish, wanted to have my beauty sleep, didn't have the best sleep. Okay. Can let that go. Sometimes that happens, but there's one big one that is definitely gets in our way that I think we can have a little bit of control over, unless we can. And that's another topic. So we're going to get into the interferences, how they mess with our mental game, and their biggest bully is our inner critic. Okay. Our inner judge. We all have one. We all have an inner critic. Okay. It's that little voice inside your head. It was probably a seed. Your inner critic stems from childhood for sure. It's also your deepest fears, your deepest worries. It's all sorts of things. Often it stems very early. Your very strongest, loudest critic, that loudest voice that gets to us is old. And we need to figure out how to deal with this inner critic. And originally, our inner critic, some psychologists say that our inner critic really stemmed from our amygdala. It's this tiny little almond shaped thing in our brain that sense it's our fear, it's our flight or fright. It's what will save us from the tiger in the bushes that's lurking. It's that little inner critic, but we don't need that anymore because we're safe. We're good. Most of us are pretty safe. So our inner critic, let's first say, what does this inner critic do to us? It threatens our confidence. It threatens our self-esteem. It threatens our mindset. It tells us all sorts of things that it also holds us back from growth. It wants to protect us. It wants to say, this is scary. Oh, you want to be a voiceover artist? What are you thinking? That's crazy. Yeah. You know who does voiceover? Stars. Matthew McConaughey's on things. All sorts of people do things. Other people have been doing it for the longest time. So-and-so has a better voice than you. Why they should be doing this? This inner critic says all sorts of things. You know what I'm talking about, right? It can lead to feeling unworthy, feeling like a failure, feeling unlovable. It shows up everywhere. It shows up on dates. It shows up at work. It shows up everywhere. This inner critic is a real jerk, and we really need to deal with it. It can lead to perfectionism, right? And where you get into analysis paralysis. We all know what that looks like. You get in the booth, you go to do your audition, and 8 hours later, you're still trying to make it perfect. Right. And I'll tell you, you are not making it any better by hanging out in there for 8 hours. You're making it different, but you're not necessarily making it better. And this strive for, again, back to, there is no such thing as perfect in this business. You're never going to there's no real perfect tape. It's very gray. Imposter syndrome. Like, we know what that means. Like I've been faking them all along, every time I get a new job, like, I can't believe it. That feeling that I don't know what I'm doing, self-sabotaging behavior. I'm going to mess up anyway. So forget it. Why bother, get a good night's sleep. I may as well go party with my friends, whatever. It can also lead to, mental and physical unwellness and a lot of self-doubt. And I'm just going to touch upon sort of mental, if your inner critic is so loud that you can't stop the voice and stop it, it can get bigger than you. So you also really need to be aware of that. Sometimes this inner critic can be bigger than us. So what do we need to do when, how do we deal with this little gremlin? Identify it. First things first, identify your inner critic. We have to face this inner critic. We got to identify it. So name it. Mine's called the judgmental case. Name it. And and I've got a name, and I know, and now because I've done my inner critic work, I know when the judgmental case is in the house, and I can just be like, yeah, I know you. Bye. I can just look them away very, very quickly. But to do your inner critic work, I want you all to do this, maybe not necessarily right now, stay with me here, but start thinking about this, like name your inner critic, get crafty. We're all creative. So identify this inner critic, write out everything your inner critic says to you, all the horrible things, and really, take some inventory. Is everything just an incorrect assessment of your abilities to keep you in the comfort zone? Or is there some worth, is there something that, well, you'll never succeed because you're not very good at follow through, or you don't do all the work, or your focus isn't very good. Well, maybe it isn't. So maybe you've got to work on that. But that's part of recognizing what our weaknesses are. We do want to check in with that. That's the only way we'll grow. And it's okay. Again, let me remind you, it's okay to not be great at everything. And we're not supposed to be. If we were, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be doing this because I'd be bored. Like I'm still doing this because I'm still getting better. I've done so much of it, and I'm still not, I wouldn't say I'm not an expert yet. I'm still learning. I learn every audition I have. And I love that. That's what I love about this, that there is no ceiling. I love the fact that growth is forever. So identify, really look at this inner critic, and then challenge it. Just challenge challenge everything. And that also will be part of your inventory. Is this really, I'll never work again. That's a lot. I guess I'm never going to work again, or really, I'm too old to do this. Like I'm better with age. Really, you'll never make it in this town. There's so many people that are better than you. Remember what, your mom said, you don't, you have a terrible voice. People say that. People come into this business and they're like, I heard I don't have a great voice, but I really want to do this. Get rid of that. Apparently, I had a terrible voice, or I don't think I have a great voice. Learn to love your voice, people. We got to love our voices. And then once you've sort of identified, you've challenged your inner critic, and then we've just got to shut it down. And we can shut it down in so many ways. It's just, often it's just like, I don't need you here. Your inner critic actually needs you. Your inner critic needs you to not grow. Your inner critic wants to keep you safe because what you're doing is very scary to them. So you don't need your inner critic. They need you. So just silence them and say goodbye. Invite them in. Sometimes I'll be like, fine, you can come in. You can come into the booth with me, but you're just going to observe. Take control. This is your inner critic you can control. If you can't control your inner critic because it is bigger than you, then we have people to talk to about it. It might be something bigger than you. And sometimes there are things that are bigger than us. Okay. And we just also have to, we're not, as much as we have powers, we are not superhuman. We are still human. So there are lots of resources to help us get out of our own way when it comes to our inner critic and other sort of things that might come into place mentally, physically, that could happen. And so this is where, yay, why not? Let's introduce our inner champion. So instead of having an inner critic, or which we have them. So this isn't a just get rid of your inner critic and bring in your inner champion. Your inner critic will still show up. even though you've acknowledged it and you've faced it and you've silenced it. Your inner critic will still come up. It's just going to happen. But then you can also counterbalance with your inner champion. And this is really like a great sort of secret to your sort of, your biggest sort of superhero that will combat, say, your superhero inner critic, is bring in your inner champion that is going to build you and lift you up and do all sorts of things. Your inner champion focuses on your strengths, what you can control. It celebrates and remembers your wins, big and small, little wins, right? A great audition is a win. Again, remember, it normalizes versus catastrophizes. You know what I mean by that? So instead of saying, I always trip on my words, when I do this type of audition, let's say it's sort of a technical audition. I always trip on my words. I'm never going to be able to get through this text. Let's normalize that. Do you always trip on your words? Like that's catastrophizing. I'll never be able to do it. Well, maybe right now, or, I've always, I always mess up. Do you always mess up? You sometimes mess up, and that's okay. And what can we do? Maybe we need to do some more. We need to just work on doing more tongue twisters, or let's just use this audition as a practice. Your inner champion can see that the glass is half full, not the other way around, right? We want to fuel a positive mindset and self-love. This is all really, really important.